Hi everyone, I'm Huub Hildenbrand. Thanks for tuning into my channel, Huub Hildenbrand Guitar Academia. Today we have the third lesson of all these 19 possible three-note structures. And in this lesson we get into the melodic approach, so the arpeggios. And we have a kind of a workout, you can say, how different ways how we can practice these structures melodically on the fretboard, on the guitar. So let's get right into the endless ocean of music. So please follow the link down in the description below. There you find a PDF, and what I will do in this lesson, I will refer to this PDF and I will explain to you what is written there, what is meant, that you really understand these 2 pages and can use them for your practice. I call this a workout because in a way, like, practice patterns they tend to be very dry and not really connected to music. Of course, what you always should do, especially also with these very dry exercises, to play them very musically. And what I did actually, I am in these 2 pages is actually like a collection of different exercises I collected over the last I don't know, maybe 15 years or so, because there are like hundreds, there are thousands of possible exercises for arpeggios of 3-note structures for major and minor chords, arpeggios, and so on. But for myself, I decided to throw away all these exercises, which really doesn't make so much of musical sense to myself. So because I want to prepare myself for music and not for all possibilities, because you just can't learn all the possibilities, and it would be a very dry approach. The best thing is actually if you find a certain exercise and you really like the sound, and then you go into it and practice it and most I mean actually I think all of these exercises are sequences. So you have a certain pattern and you play that, and then you just go to the next higher or lower note of, in this case, the 3-note structure, the arpeggio, and play the same melodic shape from that note. And by that you move up the fretboard, or you move up the notes, and then you can invert the whole thing. You just, every interval what's going up, you go down. Then you have nice sequences to reverse the direction of the movement. So you go down. So the first exercise is just arpeggio up and down. So you start from for example, you take this, in this case, all these exercises in C major. You start from a G, for example, and you play. And all these different ways how to play arpeggios, like different pathways, I call them, and also these positions and fingerings, we will cover in a later lesson, maybe in the next lesson, I think. By now we want to just understand these sequences and this workout, these patterns actually. So what we do, we play this up and down. And very important, always think of legato. Legato is the most the hardest thing on the guitar. Like the note should not be like more staccato, but it should be more like. Okay, so very quick movements of both hands in one instant, and always prepare the next note you will play. Always think ahead. We will also talk about this in very soon here. Okay, and also what you also should do is you should also start this pattern with all these patterns. You should start from top, because mostly what we are mostly doing, if we don't sync, we start from the lowest note, we move up, and then we move down, and actually by moving up we already learned the notes, and then moving down is just we are referring to what we learned. And this thing you can trick yourself, or you can overcome this risk by just starting from the top. You start from the top note and then you move up. Yeah. So you can overcome this risk, you can say, by starting with the top note and then move down. Yeah, so you move down and then up, and then from another note, and then up again. Another thing you have to be clear about is that the whole, especially with these three-note structures, there's a lot of technique necessary in the right hand, and it's very different if you play one string down, the lower string down, and then you move you go to the upper string directly and move up. So you move in the direction you play. It's a very different technique than doing the opposite. If I start this arpeggio with a Ra stroke, with an upstroke, then the first two notes are very. The technique which I need is very different than if I start with a downstroke, with a Da stroke. So what you can do, you can play the arpeggio up, starting with Da and move down again, and then you repeat the lowest note and play the same thing again. And if you repeat the lowest note, then you automatically, if you keep your alternate picking here, Dara, 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 then you automatically you interchanged all these strokes. So a Da stroke will become a Ra stroke, and a Ra stroke become a Da stroke. So that's a good advice, you can say. Okay, next. The second exercise is three-note cascades, and that's a very typical thing. And also all these exercises, or most of them, they also are very valid for a scale exercise or for four-note structures. It's just, in a way, it's always like just move three notes up of one kind of a tonal material, and then start from the next higher note of this tonal material and do the same thing. So in this case, G, C, E, C, E, G, E, G, C, G, C, E, C, E, G. So 1, 2, 3, you start from G, and then you start from the next note, the C. I think you know this exercise. I mean, this is a very common exercise. And what you can do is you can use your bolts differently. You can play different bolts. You can play da ra 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 da ra, Or you can play da ra da 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 da ra da. So practice both of them, especially this da ra da da ra da da ra da. That's something what also needs to be practiced. That's a very cool technique, a very cool thing. I mean, I could tell you now a lot about this thing, but for now just practice it, and later on we will have a lot of fun by doing different things with this technique. Okay. Oh yes. There are actually two more signs you have to know. One sign is this comma, and this comma means now the next sequence starts. So you see these three notes, this eighth note triplet, and then you see this comma, and the note after the comma is already the starting note of the next sequence. So one step of the sequence, or one note of the three-note structure higher, repeating the same thing. And so it's a kind of a short way how to write these exercises, because it's just a system, and you have to understand the system, and then you can just practice it from any note, starting with any note, on any of these 19 different three-note structures. So that's actually, all these exercises here are not really meant to be played exactly with these notes, and it's more understand this concept, this system, this approach, and then play this over the whole range or in one position. Or I hope this is clear. If you have questions, if it's not clear, please leave your comments, and I definitely read the comments, and if I think this is a very valid question for everybody, then, or I missed maybe some explanation, then I will make an extra lesson for that. Okay, then another symbol is this, I think it's called Asterix. And you see this Asterix below the second and the third note, and you see this explanation on top, on the right side of the page, also start here. So this is a kind of an optional or an alternate starting point. And with these three-note cascades, it's actually a huge difference when you play the same thing, exactly the same thing, but starting with the second note as the first note of these eighth note triplets. So in this case, instead of the melody really changes. Instead of going this way, we go this way. Very different than. And one cool exercise also is to combine all these three different starting notes, these three different melodies, possibilities. And this is also written there very short, so you will not understand it if I don't explain it to you. Directly reverse, in brackets, 3 times. If you start with the lowest note and you move up to the highest note, and then directly reverse from this note, if you take this as the highest note and we directly reverse it, we will come up with all these different possibilities, and then starting all over. I play the whole thing for you, and then you figure out yourself. 1, 2, 3. With the lowest note as you started. And I just recognize my right hand. I sometimes I play dar and sometimes I play ra stroke. So in this tempo, in the slow tempo, it's I don't think too much about it. All right, then you have a kind of a B form of the second exercise, and this is just inverted. You invert the sequence. This is the only one with the B form? Yeah, I think so. When we have these 4-note structures and these different exercises, there are actually more exercises which have this B form. This is an inversion of the form. So instead of playing, we go down, but at the same time we move up the sequence. So we play. So that's the idea here. So you have a leap of an octave. Then we have number 3. Number 3 goes like this, the main basic form. So, and with this form you have also some you have variations. You can just start one eighth note eighth later. So you see this in brackets. You see the eighth note rest. So instead of like 1 and 2 and 3, and you think and 1 and 2 and 3. It's a very different melody. Instead of. And then also you can have as a starting point, a starting note, you can start with a second note, with a C in this case. So you have written here like C, G, so you skip the E, and then you could go to E and skip the G, so you have something like. It's actually the same as syncing with this eighth note rest. Of course, the order of the notes is the same anyway, but the accents or how you feel it, the melodic quality changes a bit. And also you can play this exercise. It's also quite nice in eighth note triplets. So instead of 1 and 2 and 3, and you play. Also becomes something quite different, quite different. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, or 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Okay, then you have exercise 4 is a quite heavy exercise. This has to do with I mean, I show you what's written there first. There you see a circled number, the 6 circled number. Okay, 6th string. So we play this on a single string on the 6th E string, and then we see this is a G. Then this is a K for Klopfer. I use these German abbreviations. Means hammer on. So I play G, and then again a G and hammer on to C. And then I go to C, play the C again, and then again the C and hammer on the E. So I go up the arpeggio as always, and then I play the E and again and hammer on the G. So I have and reverse I can use pull-offs, Abzieher, pull-offs. So it's or I can use slides. Or it's both possible. And the the nice thing is like it's a coordination thing. I play quite quick, but the movements I share between these two hands. So every hand doesn't really have to do as much as it sounds, you can say. So what I do with my right hand, I play ra-da, ra-da, ra-da. So this hammer-on note, I don't play with my right hand, of course. I don't strike it. So I have ra-da, 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 ra-da. So if you see my right hand, it's actually doing not very much. Just doing ra-da, 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 ra-da. And my left hand is actually this is quite working, needs to work, because these leaps and also this stretches and also this hammer-on pull-offs. But the nice thing is actually when you practice this is actually just this this technique, this movement, you can say. I mean, this. Because this you can if you practice this, you can get like. So there's a quite cool sound also. And also when you change chords, for example, you do like the next is drop two voicings, arpeggiated. Just refresh the last lesson. Drop two voicings, for example, C major. Drop two voicing is G, E, C. You can play this voicing also as an arpeggio. So you can play with all these inversions and root position. Back. Again. Okay, number 6 is a pattern what also Johann Sebastian Bach is using quite a lot. It's kind of 4-note cascades, but starting with not with the next higher note, but with a next to the next higher note. So it sounds like this. Sorry. Yeah, so it's goes quite quick through the arpeggio. Number 7 is to practice these different voicings again. What we talked in the last lesson. So for C major, you can have closed position, or you can have drop two voicings, or you you can have drop 3 voicings, or you can have drop 2 and 3 voicings, or you can have drop 2 voicing, a double drop 2 voicings. Or double drop 2, drop 3 voicings. And you can play this very systematic, of course. That's also written. Choose one string for the top note. So, for example, for close position, I can choose the G string, and then I practice all my close position forms up and down the fretboard horizontally by sticking with my highest note on the G string. So this is a kind of restriction you can add to practice. Then you have the diets, the different forms. Or you have what's right? Close position? No, that wasn't right. So the third close position plus octave. Okay, it's all written there, and please leave in the comments, leave questions if you don't understand it. Of course, it's not a beginner lesson here. It's an intermediate lesson, and I think these intermediate lessons on this channel, they are also quite advanced. I mean, we are not busy with very advanced material, but the approach we are taking and is, I mean, to really learn all this stuff, to really practice them and really get it under your fingers on the fretboard, this will take some time, and this might bring you already to an advanced stage. And also, of course, sometimes I also think these intermediate lessons as a kind of a refreshing areas and correcting areas of, if you are more an advanced musician, you can have a very systematic approach to rethink and to restructure and to make it stronger what you already have in a way. But of course, I want everybody like participate here, but actually leave comments and let's have some interaction here, so I also learn more about you. Okay, the next exercise is called enclosure, and that is like it's like a quite very practical thing, very practical concept. You have a kind of a central note, in this case, for example, the C, and then you approach this note. You go from the higher neighbor tone of the 3-note structure. It's the E, and you go down to C. But instead of going directly down to C, you first go to G, because G is the next lower tone to your central tone, C. So what you do, it's a kind of enclosure. You go from top to down, and then you reach your target, you can say. It's like, it's a kind of an approach you're doing. Yeah? So it's like G, E, or C, E, but you approach this note from both sides. It's a very musical exercise, I find for myself. Number 10 is another sequence. Number 11 is also like a drop form. You always skip one note, And this pattern goes like this. Sorry. And the other way around. Pattern. Then you have 4-note cascades, and I start with a 16th rest to play kind of a line also to a kind of a target tone. My target tone is a G here, and I play. Yeah, so tuck-a-dimmy, 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 ta. That's the idea, and the range of this one part of the sequence is an octave. Our starting note is a G, and we end with a G. So we do like, and then we go to C, C, G, C. Okay, I think you got the idea. Number 13 is you play an octave, and then you have like a close position triad. So octave, C, C, and then you have a close position C, G, E, G, C. So it's like, and then from this note. Then number 14 is going like so you have a lot of octaves in this pattern, and starting from the next tone, C, C, E, E, G, G, and you end on the 1 in a 4/4 bar. You start on the 4 end, and then you end on the 1. And then you have number 15. Yeah, you play this. You play the close form in this range. You repeat it, and then you end with a drop 2. So these are the different patterns, like what I said, like a workout, and I think these are quite music. It's a quite musical collection of phrases. It's not so dry, you can say. But of course, it's important to keep in mind that all these different, especially these 3-note structures, we are taking like static 3-note structures. So we take just one and observe it and practice it, and we stick to one structure. But the whole music and the whole fun and all these colors, they will really come out when we combine them. When we have progressions. Just alternate, for example, alternating 2 different 3-note structures will already bring us a complete different world of colors and sounds. So really keep in mind that you're actually preparing here for something greater to come. And also, I really understand you if you say, oh, this is so dry, all these patterns, this is so boring, you know, and I don't want to skip, I just want to skip this stuff. I understand this completely. And I tell you, okay, do it, skip it, but go on with this course. And later on, when we have these different combinations of more 3-note structures in a kind of progressions and with voice leading, then you will realize how practical and how useful and necessary it is to be more intimate with these 3-note structures, to really know them, to really have them under the fingers, and to have learn the notes on the guitar, that you're able to more quickly progress with the good stuff, you can say. So maybe it just wait, just skip this stuff if you're not feeling comfortable with it, and then later on, I think you will. I'm sure that you will recognize that it's good to go back to these exercises, and then you know where to find them. Okay, I hope you like this lesson, and next lesson will come out next week. Like every Friday is a day of releasing a new lesson. If you like these lessons, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and also you can follow the link down below on my website. There is a button where you can donate, where you can support my work here on this channel. And next lesson we will have the same topic here. We still practice these 3-note structures in a melodic way, but much more interesting patterns. We do more like spread patterns where we skip a lot of notes or strings, and so more wide leaping patterns, and I use them very frequently. I find them for myself very musical. So stay tuned, and thanks for watching. My name is Hildenbrand.